Hello, everybody. It is Friday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, assistant sports editor for multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined for our weekly spot by Jason Mackey, our Post-Gazette sports columnist, talking all things Pirates after their disastrous series loss in Milwaukee. Jason, the 14-0 loss, I think that was Tuesday night. Wednesday, they give up a bunch of runs, lose. Just a terribly ugly series all around. Punctuates the fact that they've really been struggling since the All-Star break, despite holding on to some of these veterans, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, Tommy Pham, Andrew Heaney. These guys were supposed to make this team not as bad down the stretch of the season, Jason, and that is not what we are seeing with the Pirates right now. Are they even being bad at losing by having these veteran guys in these roles when you could be having – you can lose games with young players too, but those guys aren't getting the opportunity because you still have these veterans around because you couldn't get rid of them at the trade deadline.
Yes. I mean, they're struggling at losing. I can't believe I'm saying that, Adam, but it's true. They're doing this wrong. We should be looking at the end of this season and gaining some meaningful knowledge toward 2026. I don't understand why Andrew Heaney is still making starts. I don't understand why Isiah Kiner-Falefa and Tommy Pham are still playing meaningful innings for this team. And I'm not advocating DFAing them. You're probably going to cause more harm than you are doing good at this point, but you should have traded them. My suspicion is that they didn't because they wanted to try to preserve jobs by winning as many games in 2025 as possible. And that's just not the best thing for the Pirates. The best thing for the Pirates is to have Bubba Chandler up here and, taking his lumps if that so happens and learning and getting the experience. I know this is an extreme take, Adam. I would play Jack Suwinski every day for a month. I kid you not. I would play him every day for a month. I'd give him minimal instruction. I would say, Jack, see ball, hit ball. If you need help, come to us. We're here to support you. But I want to see what you do independently. At least at that point, you learn what you have. And at this point, I don't know what Jack is. I know that Alexander Canario is not part of this long term. Why he's here, I don't know. Tommy Pham is not going to be here contractually. I'd like to see them allocating shortstop reps to Liover Peguero or literally anybody other than Isiah Kiner-Falefa. It's nothing against IKF. It's just I don't think he's going to be here next year. So I don't know why they're doing that.
I want to get into Jack Suwinski more on the back half of the show when we talk a little bit more about the on-field. I want to talk about the big picture, though, here in the first segment a little bit, and that is I think it put it in especially sharp relief that they were so terrible against the Brewers, who are on such a tear in this NL Central. I think a lot of Pirates fans have been looking at these upcoming labor negotiations and the collective bargaining talks with Major League Baseball. Is there going to be a salary cap? Is there going to be some kind of small market salvation? Bob Nutting has alluded to that himself, I believe, in an interview with you. Earlier in the year, and then here you have Milwaukee just destroying. Should we really be listening to anyone about MLB economics who wants to bellyache and moan about that when the Brewers exist and are doing this? And listen, I think winning the World Series is, maybe a different conversation than going on tears in the regular season. But I think a lot of Pirates fans would be really happy with what Milwaukee has done under Matt Arnold relative to what they've gotten under Ben Cherington.
Yep. There are 1,000 places to go with this discussion, Adam. I love it. I mean, let's not forget that the Pirates had an opportunity to hire Matt Arnold, by the way. And this owner and president looked at it and said, nope, Ben Cherington's a better option than this guy. They've made a lot of poor choices. That tops them all. And I mean, they're two separate discussions for me, right? Like Major League Baseball needs to talk about economic reform. We've been down this road. It is screwed up. It doesn't make any sense why you have teams on one end of the spectrum like the Pirates and the Marlins and other teams just not spending a lot of money, and then you have the Dodgers and the Yankees that are competing against the same thing. I mean, that has to change. You have to have a cap and a floor. I don't have a lot of confidence there will be, but you should. And then you can talk about the Pirates and the foolishness with which they're operating, and they have not been a good small market team. Right now, is it possible to win in Major League Baseball on a budget? Of course it is. The Brewers are showing us that. The Guardians are showing us that. The Rays are showing us that, over years, of course, too. And you need to make smart decisions. And this is the same discussion we have all the time. You have to draft well. You have to develop. You have to see things that other people don't. You have to pitch. You have to be fundamentally sound. And the Pirates have not done nearly a good enough job of that. So, I mean, we could talk about any one of those things at length. But yeah, it's funny how it kind of gets all distilled down into the same thing, just one butt kicking in Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, but I think it is just such a symbolic, proving the way the Pirates are messed up when you are comparing them against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Well, and Adam, I mean, people get so mad about money, which I understand, and they should spend more. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like, look at the smart baseball decisions the Milwaukee Brewers make, and look how they build a team, and look at what they value. Like, they're not bringing in stars; they're just playing good baseball.
Well, they do have some stars, Jason. I think especially like a guy like Christian Yelich is. I guess you could say that's what the Pirates were hoping Ryan Reynolds would be, and that they haven't gotten that guy, and that they made a similar move, and they just again got it wrong. And I believed in that deal at the time, but I'm also not paid what the Pirates executives are paid to make this thing work. Relative to the Ben Cherington discussion, Jason, what is the expiration date here if things keep going down this path? I looked it up leading into the show. Dave Littlefield was fired before the end of the season at the very dawn of the Bob Nutting principal ownership age. That was September 7th. So early September, after the call-ups had been made, after pretty much every move you could make in a season had been made. Is that a proper over-under? And if I'm setting that as the date, is it over or under for you, with over being, later in the season and under being sooner? I
guess I'll go later in the season. That would be over, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow. I think it's going to be later than that. I still do think they will fire Ben Cherington. I'm not moving off that mark. The way I've had it explained to me from the very beginning of this, and again, I disagree wholeheartedly with all of it, that once you sign up for the season, you sign up for all of it, and then in the offseason, you react to it. So until I hear otherwise, that's what I'm sticking with. I mean, I'll be honest, Adam, I thought yesterday was going to be the day. I thought the direct dichotomy with the Brewers, I can see Bob Nutting. I mean, he has made not impulsive, but decisions that react to results before. And I thought this might be one where you just say, you know what, enough is enough. Because that decision, frankly, enough is enough. It should have happened months ago. It's absurd that it didn't. But anyway, as far as an expiration date, I'm still looking at after the season. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's earlier, because I think that's the best thing for the organization. And I think that's the only way you can get out of this mess that you're currently in and reattach yourself with fans, to give fans a reason to believe in what you're doing. I mean, I can't imagine these last 50 games or whatever it is, Adam. I mean, what motivation would anybody have to go to a game? They're showing you that they don't care. Why should you show them that you care? Why should you pay money when they're not going to reciprocate on your passion? And by employing Ben Cherington, that's what they're doing. That's the message they're sending.
Well, they've steered so hard these last couple of weeks, like Yinzer Palooza. They steer into the Bucko Luau weekend. They got these big. It used to be just a bobblehead night, and now the marketing department is so overrun with these. You got whole weekends with a theme, except it's so divorced in terms of priorities and how they're presenting baseball. It's like, well, this is the point. These promotions and these themes, and it's like going to a themed party is almost how they're marketing it, as opposed to a baseball team. So, yeah, I think
when's the good baseball theme night? Is that happening?
Yeah, exactly.
We care about the on-field product time. When's that? I'll go to that one.
Yeah, and so they're not showing you that they care, even with the stuff that's off the field. Nothing to do with baseball. Travis Williams is not showing you that he cares. He's, in my opinion, just continuing to look completely tone deaf, and I'm sure we could do a separate podcast on how much longer are we going to deal with the way he is running that side of the business. But before we get into the on-field, go ahead, Jason.
Let me just point out too, I'm closer to this stuff than a lot of people. That stinks too, because there are a lot of people who work for the Pirates who genuinely care about like how the Pirates look, and they like live and die with this. And this is a very tough time for people who are like, down in the bushes, and people that, you don't know their names, you won't know their names, but they're integral parts of what the Pirates do. Not to mention like, prideful people who have spent a lifetime in baseball in the clubhouse who really want this to go well. It affects a lot of people, a lot of layers of the organization, the decision-making or the lack of decision-making, I should say, from the very top, in continuing to employ the biggest decision-maker in baseball operations. Like, it just stinks that inactivity on that front can convey such a large message, such a large depressing message. But that's what we're seeing.
Jason, we're going to talk about Jack Suwinski on the other side of this break, continue that conversation a little bit, talk about Oneil Cruz going on the injured list and what's gone wrong with him the last few weeks since the All-Star game. And then Tommy Pham and Andrew McCutchen and the role they play in this offense. And can the Pirates survive without those guys next season? So a lot to talk about. Before we do, want to pass along a message from our friends at Greenewalt Roofing.
Hey, Pittsburgh. When you think of great roofs, you think Greenewalt Roofing Company. With over 20 years experience, Greenewalt knows your roof is your home's first line of defense from rain, wind, snow, and ice. That's why Greenewalt Roofing's standard for perfection is so important. You can trust that their team of experienced installers will treat your property like it's their own. When it comes to roof replacements, Greenewalt Roofing is Pittsburgh's only choice. Visit greenewaltroofing.com today or call 412-314-8882 to schedule your free estimate. PA contractor number 36262.
Back on the PG Pirates show, I'm Adam Bittner. He's Jason Mackey. We are talking about, we're going to start by talking about Jack Suwinski because, Jason, you introduced him in the earlier segment here of wanting to see more of him. I'm going to take the exact opposite approach. I would like to see anyone other than Jack Suwinski. I was playing a game with my friend on the couch the other night. We were watching the game. I said, can we think of a crappy Pirate of the past with worse numbers than Jack Suwinski has this season? Let's just Google. Let's go back. Let's look at their lifetime. Let's look at their season with the Pirates. We could not find anyone. Not a single player with numbers as astronomically terrible as Jack Suwinski's. And that included a fair amount of pitchers. So I'm going to ask you to respond to that statement a little bit, just because you said in the earlier segment you didn't know who he is. I think I know who he is. I think it's over, in my opinion.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I don't think it's over. I think it's the Pirates' fault. I think they have him wrapped around the axle, and I think somebody is going to get Jack Suwinski probably after they DFA him. They're going to untangle the knot, and he's going to be a really good hitter. That's my opinion. To the question about what you guys were concocting on the couch, I like that. My rebuttal would be this, Adam. Have you ever seen a player, and there aren't many, who have hit that many home runs for the Pirates within their first 2 seasons? No. And then he completely falls off. Like, did he hit all of those home runs by accident? Or was he a good player that maybe they screwed with too much and he can't get back to center?
I don't know, Jason. I think there's a difference between between underperforming in the way that like Brian Reynolds is, for example, or being like a Mendoza line hitter and like where he is. It's just such a bleak place.
I know it is. It is, Adam. And you know what? If they had anybody better, like in AAA or anywhere who deserved to play, I would be with you. But I don't need to see Canario anymore. I don't need to see, Tommy Pham. That's why I don't understand it. But I would really like to see the deals that they turned down for Tommy Pham. I know I never will. But if we're talking specifically about Jack Suwinski, I want to know once and for all. Like, I know the past couple of years, they have filled his head with entirely too much information, basically making him a hitter that he's incapable of being. And I don't know if he's ever going to get back to that guy that hit 26 home runs. He might not. But I want to know going into the offseason if that's even remotely possible. And I don't care how ugly it looks. Maybe you're just a month ahead of me, and that's fine. I completely respect that. I know how tough of a time Jack has had based on what he's been asked to do by the previous regime. And it's difficult to get out of that. And that's why I said, like, if I'm the Pirates, I say go out and play. Don't think, just play. I'm not going to ditch you after 3 games. I want to see it because I think you're forming your decision or your evaluation or your feelings on Jack Suwinski based on his terrible results, which is completely fair to do. I'm not saying it's not, but I think his terrible results are something that has frankly been unfair to Jack, and it's been unfair to other hitters in the Pirate system, and I would like to get them out of that if at all possible.
I could maybe talk myself into that, Jason, if Ben Cherington wasn't here, and I believed anyone was going to say that. Yeah. If you're the man, if suddenly Jason Mackey, Pirates manager, or Jason Mackey, Pirates general manager, is the person making the decisions here, then sure. but he's not. And so we're stuck with, like, why would I expect their approach with him to change relative to the last 4 years in the next month? So that's just a question of,
you're right.
Should someone else get a shot to prove that they can succeed within this system heading into next year? Because basically, I think what you're making is the argument that another regime should get one last chance to salvage him. I could maybe be talked into that. I can't be talked into seeing more of him now.
Yeah. I mean, but what's the worst that can happen, Adam? Are they going to lose games? Are they going to not score runs? You're saying you don't want to see more out of him because you're sick of seeing him fail. I understand that, but like, what's the risk of him failing? They still stink offensively. It doesn't matter. Give them a month of games as a trial run. Try to do things a different way than you've already done them, and then you may have a guy with a lot of power. What's the chance? 10%? I don't care. I'll take a 10% chance. I have nothing to lose. I have nobody else to put in those spots, which is a damning indictment of this regime. It's embarrassing. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not taking anything away from anybody else. I don't care if Alexander Canario gets DFA'd or, they lose him, whatever. I don't care. I want to find out if what Jack Suwinski did was real. And then if it's not, and then if it's terrible, then I don't feel bad. At least I feel like I've exhausted every option to keep him on the roster.
Yeah, I think those are fair points. Jason, another guy who is struggling and now is no longer has the option to play, at least for the next week or so, is Oneil Cruz. Heads to the injured list because of a concussion. He's barely hovering above a 700 OPS. You could probably live with the inconsistency in terms of his batting average and getting on base, but he has 1 home run in August and 2 since the break and all of the ballyhoo around him at the home run derby. Can this situation with him be salvaged as, a potential star, or are we starting to see him go down the Ke'Bryan Hayes road here? Obviously, they're different players with different skill sets, different games in terms of how it looks when things are working, but I'm just seeing a lot of similarities. If it just does not seem like he's going to figure it out at the plate to the extent people want, as long as he's getting the same information Jack Suwinski is. Maybe he belongs in that same category.
Again, Adam, I mean, this is not an answer on Oneil Cruz, but it's an answer on Oneil Cruz. It's why the Pirates need to ditch their entire hitting program from top to bottom this offseason. Like, along with Ben Cherington, they need to redo the hitting program. Everybody gets worse here. Oneil Cruz is it's like he's infected now. I don't understand it. Here's where I'm at with Oneil, and I'm probably in a different place than you or how you presented it. I don't think he's at Ke'Bryan Hayes level. I do think we should temper the expectations or the talk about him signing an extension. Remember around the home run derby, everybody wanted to talk again about the Pirates approaching him for an extension. What sort of mega contract might he get? And, that's as silly as saying they're going to move on from Oneil Cruz. Like, baseball is designed. There's a mechanism to go through this journey with the player. And he is in Major League Baseball for a while. He's going to reach arbitration. Maybe you pay him a little bit more. I have no problem with that. Anyway, I don't need to have an opinion formed on Oneil Cruz right now. I know that I want to continue seeing him. I know that he has a lot of work to do. I know it's not been good enough. I know that the Pirates offensive team has not done enough top to bottom to justify keeping their jobs, in my opinion. And I'd really like to see Oneil Cruz with different coaching, instruction, a different organizational philosophy on hitting. It's in there. We've seen it. It's just a matter of when it comes out.
Jason, Tommy Pham is no longer like a 2-week flash in the pan. He's become one of the most consistent players on the team. I think he's worth, last I checked on ESPN, worth 1.4 wins above replacement, which makes him one of the very few Ben Cherington acquisitions that kind of hit his contract weight in terms of expectation, overperforming a little bit. Do you shudder to imagine this offense without both him and Andrew McCutchen next season?
Yeah. And Kutch has kind of come back down to earth too. I wonder if Kutch is done. I mean, I think Tommy Pham will parlay this into something else, anywhere else. I don't expect Tommy Pham to be back. And yeah, it's scary to think about what this offense would be without Pham. It would be nothing. But the Kutch thing is a valid topic of conversation. I don't think he would be happy with his time here ending this way. I don't like if Cherington stayed in place, I think maybe that affects things. At the same time, if Cherington's gone, which I expect, you're telling Andrew he can play another year, try to go at this again with a new GM. There should be a different kind of energy. Donnie Kelly's his manager. I think that probably works. Earlier in this season, I probably would have said that this is going to be Kutch's last year. And when he made the comment about playing me until the wheels come off, like I do think that's what was behind that. But now, not so much. I think Kutch might still have some hunger to prove that this year can be better. I think it can be better. So, yeah, I mean, it's terrible to imagine the offense without those two guys. It's terrible to imagine the offense with those two guys, Adam. I'm just curious what happens next with Kutch.
Yeah, me as well, just because I think I've been waiting for years for them to have better options than Andrew McCutchen. I mean, that is when you're really, he shouldn't still be here. If we're being completely honest, they should have better options than Andrew McCutchen. But the fact that they maybe have worse options than when they brought him back, I think there should be room for him on next year's team. And that's, unfortunate in some ways and maybe fortunate if you still like seeing Andrew McCutchen in black and gold. Jason, any final thoughts on the week here?
No, it's just depressing. I want the Pirates situation. I want to talk about how to formulate this team for better things in 2026 because I do think it's possible, Adam. I know that's an insane thought given the discourse that we've had over the past 30 minutes. I don't think it's impossible. If you add a new GM in here, you scrounged up as much money as possible, you raised payroll. I might have delivered this sermon last week, and I'll deliver it again this week. You up payroll to show a consistent or a desire to fans that we want to win. You swap out GMs and say you can't rebuild. You're getting Donnie Kelly, but here's money. I need you to go build an offense. I think it's doable. I think this team can actually be decent if you make those moves. I just don't understand why they're not making them.
You're much more hopeful than I am, Jason. So
well, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm hopeful. I'm just saying you're telling me with a Matt Arnold type GM, a GM that is reasonably smart, can maybe do this, move on from Cherington, hire that guy, and raise payroll, let's say $15 million. Let's say they get to $100 million, allow that guy to spend it, and they have cleared off money from this year's payroll, and you don't need to buy starting pitching or much bullpen help. You're saying dump that money into offense. You would not even be hopeful at that point?
No, I don't think the amount of money that's available, I think we're talking about $40 million. No, I don't have any. You'd have to hit on every single.
$40 million now. It's $40 million available now.
Right, $40 million.
$5 million payroll. You can raise 15. Let's say $55 million on strict offense. You're spending $55 million on offense this season. You wouldn't be optimistic?
I don't think you can fix this through free agency, and I think
you don't have to. You can trade and bring on salaries.
Yeah, but then you're giving. What are you giving up? I just think that the whole conception of the 6 years that we've spent here has been that we're going to develop from within, and we're going to not have to go out and fix this in free agency because we're not capable of doing that. We're not capable of competing with these teams at a payroll level, even if they're spending more. Even if you told me that the payroll was going to go up to 120. 130, I'd be skeptical of their ability to hit on every single move for exactly the reasons that we've seen with Tommy Pham, Rowdy Tellez, these early season struggles. Those are not guaranteed moves either. So I'd have a level of skepticism that you can hit the inside straight necessary. Does that mean it's impossible? No. But I think it's kind of like a poker game. And what level hand are we talking about that GM is going to have to play for 2026 not to be a 500 season at best?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a new GM, certainly. I think the money that we're talking about is fictional. It's not going to happen. I'm also not saying all free agency. I think some of it would be trades, and I'd have no problem giving up a Hunter Barco or a Thomas Harrington or even a Mike Burrows or something like that. You've got to give up a younger pitcher. But I don't understand. You could have hired Matt Arnold in 2019. Matt Arnold has made a bunch of shrewd moves. Let's say they do it differently this time and bring in a Matt Arnold type, and he can make some trades, add some salary, and he doesn't even need to find the pitching. You just need to find hitting. I don't understand what's preventing that new guy from doing that.
I think it's just the totality of all the places where they are deficient. And if it was two positions or three positions, then I'd be right there with you. I think it's practically the whole roster, and that is, offensively, the across the diamond. You look at these guys. What I hear, it was on the radio. Joe Starkey was talking about like 14 home runs that they've gotten from the infield all season. That's just such a level of deficiency that if they could fix it the way we're talking about, Jason, wouldn't they have by now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid argument that they're opening the door to have by not doing anything. I agree with you. I'm just saying that if you move on and have somebody else give it a shot, there's nothing preventing that person from finding success where Ben Cherington couldn't.
Well, I mean, that's what we're hanging our hats on. It's pretty much the only scenario that I think you have to hang your hats on at this point anyway. So we'll be anxious to see how that plays out. But Jason, thank you for talking to me this week. Everyone else, please subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate having you along for the ride for these last 6 weeks. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Help us out in the YouTube algorithm, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.